In the year before the Second World War started, 1938, the Brits made 500,000 cars and light trucks. The French made, I think, about 380,000. The Germans about 440,000. Year before Pearl Harbor, we made 4.7 million vehicles, which is why when we went to war, almost everything had made in the USA stamped on it that moved, shot, or was a locomotive. Right now, we're the Brits and the Germans in that scenario, and the Chinese are becoming the Americans in pure manufactured power. And the great thing about car plants is they build complicated machines at a high rate of production. What's a complicated machine? A big drone, So right. It's nice to have factories that can make 1,000 large super killer drones of the future a day. So a U.S. manufacturing base is really important. And as the president of Ford is very frank, Jim Farley, said, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago at the Aspen, if we don't get EVs right, we don't have a future at the Ford Motor Company. We may not be here in a decade. Get that? And they're the largest industrial employer. The 80% of Ford vehicles are made in the U.S. They're number 2 only to Tesla in terms of number of vehicles, in terms of percentage of their stuff they make here. Honda is like 3rd or 4th. And GM, which moved a lot of its stuff to Mexico, is kind of scrambling. So Trump does not understand any of this. So everything he's doing is trying to kill these guys. And what a car exec, I'll finish with this, what a car exec would say is, look, we're competing against 100 Chinese brands that are bigger than we are, and only 2 of them make money. The government subsidizes everything and gives them a mission. Go overseas, steal the market, strangle the Americans, Japanese, and Germans. And it's working. Now, Ford has bet the whole company on a lab out here in California. I've got an op-ed in the LA Times already this week about it. If anybody's interested, or go to that website and it's posted. The best EV tech labs are here. So I think our state ought to leave the thing. We're in the fight. The battery that propelled the Chinese EV industry to such power was invented at the University of Texas. So we're in the hunt, and we're good at the tech, and we're pretty good at manufacturing. But we're up against a massive opponent with massive government support. Well, the Trump guys are trying to strangle this because, they don't understand that for most people, an EV is a better car, and 80% of the people who buy them say they're sticking with them for life. It's a better experience. So I'm not giving up yet, but boy, Trump is not on the side of everything he says he is. American industrial power, national security, and, manufacturing jobs. He is the anthrax of all that.
I was walking down the street in Amsterdam a couple of weeks ago, and there's this just huge car, showroom right in the middle of the tourist area, and I was like, "What is that? Those things look cool." It's like, oh, it's the Chinese.
Yeah. Go to Mexico City. It's like, when did I, turn into Shanghai overnight?
Just really quick, what specifically is in the bill that is so harmful?
Well, the solar guys will say everything I'm saying about cars. We finally started catching up.
We talked about that a little bit with David Wallace-Wells. Yeah.
So the bill had a push-pull strategy, and there was some stupidity in it, waste, and can be improved. It was not perfect, but fundamentally, on the consumer side, and this is still true until the end of September, you walk into your friendly Cadillac, Kia, BMW, Ford dealer, and you lease an EV. Always better to lease an EV. You get $7,500. And that helps make EVs cost as much, or right now, look at the lease deals, probably less than an ICE car, gas car. Yeah. So that was the consumer subsidy. There's also subsidies if you buy one, though it's always better to lease in an EV, and depreciation, stuff like that. And you buy a used one. Keep in mind, the used car market is twice as big as the new car market. It's important. A lot of EVs coming off lease, a lot of good deals there. So there were subsidies for consumers to give EVs a try. On the other hand, if you want to build a big plant to make batteries here, so the Chinese don't have a chokehold and support catching up on the tech, there was government money for assembly plants and battery plants, subsidies and loan to speed up our places to be able to compete, just like the Chinese are doing. You and I, 5 years ago, could have showed up at Beijing with a couple of Chinese partners, said, can we have $3 billion to build an EV plant? Sure, here you go, enjoy it. So they killed the consumer subsidies. They kept some of the battery subsidies. But the problem is, let's build an $8 billion battery plant to build incredible American competitive high-tech batteries that are going in cars nobody's going to buy for a couple of years. And the subsidies were meant to bridge that price problem. And the prices are coming down quickly. They run about $2,000 to $3,000 more. And so the subsidies, and what I'm pitching in California is a $3,500 lease subsidy. So a lot of the subsidies to buy were gone. Some, the charging money they're trying to claw back. And the charging program has been kind of a mess, and private industry is taking over. I think that's the least of the problem, but there was some clawback there. And in the other, quote, renewable category, nukes, solar, geothermal, there was money for all that, and that's all getting chopped. So there are people who invested money on 10-year business plans based on these subsidies who are now like, well, shit, all the math is wrong, and we're going to get massively burned here. So they're stopping construction on plants all over the country. You know, 250,000 jobs.
Just what the forgotten man was calling for: stopping the construction of.
Just go down to Tennessee. You know, I mean, most of them are in red states, and like, well, it was too bad we're not going to have those 4,000 jobs here. Too bad about that. You can all get jobs trading MAGA crypto now.
Let's do it.